Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new to my channel, how's it going, mate? My name is AussieTash. Today we're going to be reacting to and watching why Starbucks failed in Australia. I'll tell you why. Because they couldn't make a decent flat white. But before we do, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. That would really help me out. Okay, let's get into it. Why Starbucks failed in the land down under.
Starbucks has coffee shops all over the world. There are more than 28,000 locations in 76 markets, from Shanghai to Guantanamo Bay. And in China, a new Starbucks location opens up every 15 hours. But there is one continent that seems uninterested in the hype over the Seattle-based coffee chain. And that continent is Australia. It's proven to be one of the toughest markets in the world to break into. So tough, in fact, that Starbucks closed more than 2/3 of its stores on the continent back in 2008. So what went so wrong with Starbucks in Australia? To answer that, let's go back to July of 2000, when Starbucks opened its first Australian shop in Sydney. From there, it expanded fast. By 2008, Starbucks had 87 stores across the continent.
I think one of the problems for Starbucks, and it's true for a lot of businesses that have been successful in one country, is that they thought that their business model could just roll out to a different environment and there was no need for them to adjust.
But that was the problem. It tried to grow the empire too fast. Starbucks rapidly opened up multiple locations instead of slowly integrating them into the Australian market.
When they launched too rapidly and didn't give the Australian consumer an opportunity to really develop an appetite for the Starbucks brand. They also moved into regional areas, into outer suburbs of major cities. And so for the Australian consumer, it was almost like it was too available for them. And so there wasn't this point of difference, this want, this need for Starbucks, and it wasn't an organic growth, which is what we very much saw in the US.
In its first 7 years in Australia, Starbucks accumulated $105 million in losses. By 2007, Starbucks Australia was hanging on by a thread, taking big loans from the US, totaling up to $54 million. And in 2008, Starbucks announced it was shutting down 61 stores. But of course, 2008 was a difficult time for businesses due to the financial crisis. Along with the Australia closures, Starbucks also closed 600 underperforming American stores. But even still, such a retreat in Australia was embarrassing for the brand.
When you're shutting down 75 stores, for the Australian consumer, when they did leave the market, or at least a large number of their stores were shut down, they didn't really care.
It's partly because Australians are spoiled for choice when it comes to coffee.
We are, okay? You can't just bring your brand of coffee into Australia and think you're going to go gangbusters. We love our coffee here in Australia. And if you try and bring over your pumpkin spice latte and think it's just going to go gangbusters, you're mistaken. Flat whites. Your market needs to be around flat whites. Zarrafas, check it out. They're a huge coffee chain in Australia. They know that we love flat whites and they make the best flat whites.
Australia's coffee market is one of the biggest in the world. The industry is expected to hit more than $6 billion in total revenue in 2018. They've been immersed in nuances of cafe culture since the mid-1900s, when Italian and Greek immigrants began traveling to the country. The immigrants introduced Australians to espresso. By the 1980s, Australians were fully engulfed in cafe culture. They've also grown accustomed to specialty menu items, like a flat white or an Australian macchiato.
There it is. There you have it. Flat white. It's better than Lego, mate. It is the best.
So cafes in Australia were born out of like the Italian culture of, meeting a friend and knowing your local barista and it being kind of like a local meeting place where everyone knew each other, and that coffee was just a part of that. And then Starbucks came in with what is more of an American style like coffee culture, which is essentially just like coffee is a product, coffee is a commodity, coffee is like to perk me up in the morning. It's caffeination.
Starbucks had a basic menu and offered more sugary drinks, which most Australians didn't like.
In Australia, where local tastes are different, so we don't really want a coffee that's hundreds of ounces with lots of sugar in it. We want something a bit more sophisticated.
Plus, Starbucks charged more than local cafes. So Australians instead opted to pay less for coffee they liked from a local barista they trusted.
That's it, mate. In Australia, we love our coffee, but we are also cheap. We will adjust our taste buds for a cheaper coffee than some fancy smancy pumpkin spice coffee or whatever sort of flavoured coffees you got going on there. I have seen some crazy Starbucks coffee orders online. Leave a comment down below. What is your favourite Starbucks coffee to order? I'd love to hear it.
And so when you come in with this big, like, hey, we're going to open all these cafes and they're all going to be to-go focused, it just was the complete wrong market for what the Australian was used to.
But there's one American coffee company that's thriving in Australia. Founded in Chicago and now based in Australia, Gloria Jeans got the traction in Australia that Starbucks couldn't. Gloria Jeans has more than 400 Australian locations and serves more than 35 million consumers in Australia each year. So what is Gloria Jeans doing in Australia that Starbucks isn't? Well, the company attributes its success to two Australians who franchised the business in their home country. Shops started to show up in Australia in 1996. Fast forward to today, the company has a presence in every Australian state. The reason? Its menu. The chain offers a wide variety of espresso drinks and specialty coffee. Failing to adapt its menu to Australians' coffee culture proved to be a mistake for Starbucks. And the company faces another challenge later this year: Italy. Starbucks is opening its first store in Milan in late 2018. Home of the espresso, Italy is rich in cafe culture. But according to Starbucks, it's not going to make the same mistakes that it did in Australia. The company said that it would develop in Italy with humility and respect for its coffee culture.
Alright, so obviously this video was made back in like 2018. Leave a comment if you know how Starbucks is going over there in Italy. I've travelled over to Italy, but here's the funny thing. Back when I travelled there, I didn't drink coffee. I'm relatively new to drinking coffee. I've only been drinking coffee for about 3 to 4 years. Love it now. Gotta have a coffee first thing in the morning. Gotta have a nice coffee in the afternoon when I get home from work. But it is a flat white. As for Gloria Jeans, not really my cup of tea, to be honest. I've got a coffee machine at home. I just put the Law coffee pods in it. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. If I'm going to go out and buy a coffee, to be honest, 7-Eleven, hands down, make a great flat white, and it's only $3. Good value.
It announced it would be opening a roastery, which is not your average cafe. It gives customers a chance to see coffee beans roasted and processed before their eyes. So there's a chance that it won't struggle like it did in Australia. But Starbucks isn't admitting defeat in Australia either. Starbucks is staging a comeback on the continent. In 2014, Starbucks locations in Australia were purchased by the Mount Waverley-based Withers Group. Starbucks told CNBC that since its sale to the Withers Group, the company learned a lot. So this time, it's taking a different approach to putting Starbucks on the continent.
So if you just think about Australia's a big tourism destination, there's a lot of US and Chinese tourists. Starbucks have been very successful in China, and it makes a lot of sense for them to build out because there are people looking for something that's familiar to them.
Now with 39 locations in Brisbane, Melbourne, the Gold Coast, and Sydney areas, this time it's not looking to appeal to Australians. But instead, the coffee giant hopes to be a familiar face for tourists visiting popular vacation destinations in Australia.
That's definitely true. You know what? Come to think of it, I was down at Gold Coast Surfers Paradise for New Year's. Just across the road from the Surfers Paradise beach, there's a huge Starbucks right across the road from McDonald's. And there was people everywhere lining up for coffees.
There's always been a high volume tourist market. The same thing in terms of international students at our universities, potential opportunities for them. And we're starting to see Starbucks enter into some large shopping malls here in Australia as well.
Australia welcomed 9 million tourists from 2017 to 2018. And those international visitors spent more than $30 billion in 2017 alone. So tourists could possibly be the key to keeping the company afloat and preventing another downfall.
So let me get this right. Starbucks are coming back to Australia, not for Australians, but for international travellers. Alright, well, I guess if it works, good luck to them. Okay, that was the video for today. Pretty short and sweet one. Let me know. Do you drink coffee? What's your favourite coffee brand? Have you been down under and had some coffee from our Mac Cafe? It's pretty good. Alright, cheers for watching. Take care. Bye.